Hi there, I'm Michaela with Michaela's Counseling, talking a little bit more about if you're feeling invalidated in therapy and some different ways to look at that, some different things that you might consider. One thing I talked about in a recent video is how if you grew up being invalidated and you grew up being told that you had to act cheerful, you had to have a positive attitude, you needed to buck up, and you needed to cheer up, what likely developed for you was a sense that your feelings weren't real, they weren't worth noticing, that you needed to hide them. And you may have even gotten pretty good at hiding them from yourself a lot of the time, or to hiding them and then having them emerge and then actually shoving them down yourself. So you may have learned to be really invalidating towards yourself. And what you may not be noticing as much as it might be happening is that this leaks out in your relationships as well. And so you may be accidentally feeding a cycle of invalidation. So let me give you a couple examples of how that works. So let's say that you walk into therapy and you're feeling really unhappy. In fact, you're in a lot of distress. Maybe you're having nightmares. Maybe you're feeling really sad or ashamed or hopeless. You walk into that therapist's office, and the minute they smile, you smile back. All right. Nothing wrong with having great social skills. That's good. But then they ask how you're doing, and you say, I'm doing okay. I've been struggling a little bit, but you just have to keep working hard, just have to keep plugging along, right? And you smile and they say, "Oh, that's great that you are so strong and you're so good at plowing forward." This is a misattunement. They've missed the underlying distress that's going on for you. But then look at what you said in this hypothetical example. You brushed on how you were struggling, and then you immediately went to something about how basically you need to cheer up. You gave some kind of cliche. A lot of therapists actually have training in what's called solutions focused therapy and strengths focused counseling, especially in short-term situations. They're trained to actually pounce on every strength that you show. And so you might be saying something that's actually minimizing your own experience, but to them it might sound like you're displaying strength, and it's actually good for you and it's good for your healing. If it's actually just a dressed up invalidation of your own experience, it's not great for your healing and it's not great for your therapist's understanding of you. So, one thing I'd encourage you to notice is just how much this happens in your own head. That you start noticing, even that you're sad, or you start feeling down in the dumps, and you somehow talk yourself into a different version of reality than what's actually going on. And then notice how it is that you actually present with other people and how skillful you've learned to be at really maybe being charming with them, maybe being high functioning, or at really, really disguising the depth of your pain. It's hard for somebody to validate what you're not bringing forward at all. I just want to emphasize too, though, that the solution here isn't to come into therapy and start weeping uncontrollably, or start necessarily going into the depth of pain that you've been feeling. We want to find a medium, and you actually want to find out, like, how much is your therapist prepared to handle. Are they interested in hearing about it? That you've learned the skill of smiling over a lot of pain. Are they interested in finding out what's going on underneath that? What's their focus? What's their hope for you? What's their hope for the work with you? If they want to stay on the shallow end of the pool, then you may want to keep working with the skills that you've got and really work with ways to validate your own experience, even if your therapist isn't going to validate it. But maybe your therapist is kind and caring and really curious about what's going on underneath the surface, and your expressions of pain are just so fleeting, or you brush past them so quickly that they're either not noticing the pain, or they're thinking, because you're skimming over it so fast, that you're not ready to go there. And so they're emphasizing the strength that you're showing when that's actually not what you want at all. So I would check it out with your therapist a little bit and find out if they can handle more disclosure of what's going on. See what happens if you tell them that you've got this habit of saying that things are just fine, but that you'd be interested in some point at actually looking beneath that, or see what happens if you disclose a little bit further. Try to say something. If you're seeing a therapist right now and you're noticing that your pattern is to self-minimize, my challenge for you is to try to say something to them about some struggle that you're having without minimizing it right afterwards. So instead of, I've been having a hard time sleeping, but then again, I should really be eating better to make that work. And, whatever it is that you do, to minimize, don't do it. Pause after the statement of struggle. How are you doing? I've been feeling really hopeless this morning. And stop. And see what they do. Do they ask a question? Do they supply something invalidating? What do they do with you? Are they interested in hearing about what's going on? Because you may not know how interested people really are in you if you've learned to already supply the counterpoint every time that you communicate distress. Okay, so comment and let me know if this is helpful. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like more tips like this. This is one thing that might be going on if you're feeling invalidated in your therapy, is you're actually invalidating and minimizing your own struggles. So work on doing something else and see if your therapist will track with that. And if they're a good therapist that's interested in hearing about your pain, it's going to bring your therapy so much deeper. And that's going to make your other relationships deeper over time, because you'll start learning how to share it honestly without immediately shutting down your own feelings. Thank you.